Have fun.
Well, hey, we're here with Stephanie Staples today, and welcome to Nurse Leader Lounge. We're excited to have you. And I invited Stephanie because we had a conference here for our nursing leaders in Colorado a couple of years ago, and she came and was our keynote speaker and did two different sessions for us around revitalization and just renewal and mindset. I think that was a big piece that I took away, and people still talk about it today. So I thought this would be such a great time for us to catch back up and get back together. So I'll do just a quick introduction and then we'll jump in. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, Stephanie is a master motivator and psychosocial wellness expert. She travels internationally, and she came to us, and has worked with everyone from the Mayo Clinic and in the Middle East, delivering these idea-packed programs that are proven to increase feelings of hope, happiness, empowerment, and the ability to provide and apply actionable, positive changes for our participants. And they are fun. I agree. It's as a multi-titled author with eclectic qualifications. I need to get this closer. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So I'm like trying to hold it away.
No pressure.
I know, right? But what's really great about Stephanie is her background in healthcare, nursing, journalism, fitness, and communications. And, really, you were recognized as the Entrepreneur of the Year award winner for contributions to community, and you have a ton of philanthropic work that you do as well. So you're rewired. You're the rewired nurse, mom of three, lolly of three, love that, and wife of 3 decades, and a triathlete, which I also really loved hearing about when you spoke with us too, because that's such a huge accomplishment as well. I love the name Lolly too. I'm an Ami, so I have an unusual name as well. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, that's a lot of fun. So anything you'd like to add as we kick off and just talk about yourself there?
Well, I think the triathlete part is the most important part is last place triathlete. So
But you were still there. And
I
how many,
was there. I was
right?
there, and I continue to enter, and I continue to be last or very near last, and proud of it because I feel like I'm still ahead of 93% of the other rest of the population. And I think kind of,
Yes.
a lot of people in nursing and healthcare are, correct me if you disagree, that perfectionist type. We like
Yes.
to do things very, very well, which is very important in
So
healthcare.
true. So true.
However, in other areas of our life, I do like to kind of wave the flag for that perfectly imperfect, right? If I was
Yes.
going to wait until I was good enough to place or good enough to even be in the top half, I would
Right.
not be doing half the things I'm doing.
Yes.
But because I'm willing to allow myself the gift of imperfection,
Yes.
it's really blown up my world and allowed me to do so many incredible things. So yeah, I'm waving the flag for perfectly imperfect.
That resonates with me so much because I put off starting the podcast for a
Uh-huh.
while because I wanted, do I have an editor lined up? Do I know how to do all of these things? And I was working so hard to make it perfect that I was
Mm.
never going to get it done. I was never even going to start. And finally I said, you know what? I know how to use Zoom. I know how to, download audio and video files. I'm just going to do it and have a good time with it. And if it never does anything, I've still accomplished that. And so yes, 100%, I agree. We get so caught up on perfection. And I try to tell people this all the time: progress, not perfection, just
Mm-hmm.
progress.
And
So yes, I love that.
have you been having a great time with this podcast?
I have,
And
just the ability to connect with people is so fun, right?
have you been learning something with every conversation you
Every
have?
single one. Every single one. So even if I'm the only one that benefits, and I know I'm not, I do have a small following, which is great. But even if I were the only one to benefit, it's been so wonderful, and I'm so grateful I've done it. And that's something you talked about too when you were here presenting with us, was how to have that attitude of gratitude and how that can bring us such joy and happiness, even when things aren't going perfectly, right? That's another way that you sort of address some of this as well.
Yes. Well, I did radio for 12 years too. And when I first started, it was funny because I had this message that I was resonating as I was speaking to people. And I was like, how could I get this out to more people? And so I approached our local, like, #1 talk radio station. I'm like, hey, I've got this idea. And to my shock, they were like, that is a good idea. Like, come on,
Nice.
start this weekly show. And I remember driving home going, oh my, like, why doesn't someone stop me when I get these ideas? Like, I don't know how to do this. I said to the program director, is there a manual or a book or a course I should take? And he said, like, it's not rocket science, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same thing, I thought, if, well, okay, one person gets something, but every week I was the one that was learning and growing and developing. And if we waited till we were perfect, if we waited till we have every single credential, if we waited till somebody decreed, now is the time, Amy, I
Right.
shall invite you to start a podcast, we would be waiting for a long time. So I would ask your listeners, what's going on? What's been niggling at the back of your head, whether it's writing a book or taking a course or
Right.
whatever it is that you're like, oh, it's this, it's that, and you've got 101 reasons why not to do it,
Mhm.
but one strong reason to do it because you are leaning into that area. It's like, I don't know why I'm interested in that, but I think I just am.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then what do we have to do to make that happen? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done.
Correct. Correct. I love that. And, I think it's true in every aspect. When I wrote, I have one book that I've written. And when I wrote that, I wrote it as basically a new nurse leader manual for how to get started well. And again, I look back at it and I'm like, oh, I'd probably change this and I'd probably change that. But if I had waited to write that until I felt like I was completely ready or I had everything lined out, I'd still be waiting today to write that book. And for me, I wanted the experience of writing a book. And, again, it doesn't have to be a New York Times bestseller, but I wrote a book. So I
Yes.
think all of us have those little pieces that we don't like to take out and shine off and show to people because we're worried it's not going to be the best thing or the most perfect thing. But you're right. There's such gratification in just doing it and saying, I did that. I learned how.
Absolutely. And a
Yeah,
virtual high five to you for
that's
writing,
right.
for penning that book that has helped many, many, many people. And don't you think if we look back, if I look back at my first 6 months on the radio, and if you
Mhm.
look back at your first 6 podcasts, and we
Right.
don't go like, oh, that means we
Yes.
haven't grown, right? We
Right.
look back at our first 6 months of nursing, like, we were doing our best then, right? But do
Exactly.
we want to be that same? No, because we've
Right.
grown. And every time we do that little something different, that little change, that little push,
Right.
we are growing on the inside. And so
Yes.
we should look back at that stuff and go,
Yeah.
but we were a different person then. And look how far we've come.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And it reminded me of a quote that I don't know who to credit it to, but I've heard it so many times in so many ways. But give yourself permission to be bad at something new.
Oh,
You
that's
know what I
nice.
mean? And to grow. And I really love that. And I'm like, it's okay. I can switch into this new position, this new skill, this new thing. And I'm going to be bad at it for a little while. And I have to recognize that.
And
But not forever, right?
or maybe it's not your thing. Like, it's
Yeah.
possible that it's not your thing too. But I
Yeah.
also have found in living kind of what, your quote kind of exemplifies my life, actually. But what I found is that people are so, for the most part, people are very forgiving.
Yes.
People want you to succeed.
I
People
agree.
want to help you. People want to use their skills to help you grow. There's not too many people that walk in and go, "Oh, I hope they suck." Like, mostly, and
Right.
I'm going to hope, especially people in healthcare, where generally we like people, we want to help people, we want to raise people up for the most part. And I can't remember if I mentioned it to you when I spoke at your group, but I have written a song kind of about healthcare, and it's called Nice for a Living. And so it's
Yes.
about people that do give, have, share all day. It's my song, right? I burnt out terribly when I was in healthcare, and I was nice, nice, nice all day. And I went home and I was just a bear to my family. And that it didn't go over very well. And so I wrote this very heartfelt song about
Yes.
being nice for a living. And the first time I performed it on stage, I was panic stricken. I can talk to thousands of people, but you put an instrument in front of me or you use my voice as a song, I'm
Mhm.
petrified. I forgot all the words. I forgot the words to the song I wrote. Did you know you could forget words to a song you wrote? It is possible. And I'm up there on stage in front of 400 people, and I'm saying to them, I'm so sorry. Like, I forgot the words to this song. And to my shock, they all started to clap. They clapped and they started shouting, "You got this. You can do it. We're here for you." And so they flew me across the country to raise up these folks, and those folks raised me up, right?
Love
They
it.
just there to support me. And
Right.
so again, to your listeners and viewers, people want you to succeed,
Yes.
but they can't read your mind,
Hmm.
right? We don't know what necessarily what you need. So we have to be able to ask for help, ask for assistance, to put words around, what would be of service to us. And when we're asking, maybe, I'm not desperate, I'm not going to bully people or make them feel manipulated or put upon, but it's like, hey, I'm not sure if you're able to help me with this, but if you are, this would really assist me, or one of these three things would really be nice. We can't read your mind no matter how much we love you or care about you.
That's true. I love that point because if we don't get out there and connect with other people and connect to either learn or to mentor or be mentored or just to be together, we don't have those opportunities to grow and to learn and to extend beyond ourselves, and really step out of that comfort zone so that we can truly have that. And I think that's a great point.
And I
Absolutely.
don't know if it's this, I'm sure it happens in many other professions, but I know for sure it happens in nursing because I felt it many times where people find out you're a nurse
Yeah.
and they go, "Oh," and then they show you their big toe and then what,
Right.
they just think you know everything because you're a nurse, right?
Yes.
And I don't know
Yes.
about you, but far from that was the truth for me,
Mhm.
right? And then you feel this pressure like, "Oh my gosh, I should know everything," but in fact, I know my specialty really well. But there's a whole lot more things that I don't know. And that's a
So
lot of
true.
pressure to be put upon, right? Like,
It is. It is. And like you said, there's so many things nowadays, that I often don't even tell people I'm a nurse if it's a personal setting thing, because I want to see what they're going to give me and if that answers my questions. And I don't want them coming in with an assumption that I already know something. And it's been very rare that I've stopped somebody and said, okay, yeah, you don't have to cover all that. I'm a nurse. I know.
yeah,
I usually want them to cover it and want them to go over it and just make sure that okay, yes, I have this right. Even when my daughter had her wisdom teeth out a few weeks ago, I've gone through this with two other children, went through it myself, but it's been a few years. I
yeah.
let them go through. I don't go
Things
in and go,
change.
I'm a nurse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's important to see what we can learn and what we can, obtain from other people and not make assumptions for ourselves or for others, right? Sorry.
That's see that see this is this so this what happened? Oh, a runny nose on a podcast.
Yes,
Oh my
I know,
goodness.
right?
We must edit everything. No, people have runny noses in real life.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
okay.
Right? I know. I was like, I'm not going to hit pause. We're just going to keep going. This is reality.
And you know what? That's what I find too. So when I'm speaking, it's like there are so many more people in the audience, you included, who are much more educated than me, who are much more experienced than me. Much it doesn't matter. We all have a story. We all have something that can help other people. We all have different gifts and talents, and it's important for us to share that news. I don't need to be perfect, and I find the more vulnerable and real and imperfect I am, the more people kind
Right.
of get and relate, right? Then if
Yes.
whether it's a nurse or a speaker or whoever it is, if they stand up picture perfect,
Yes.
it's hard to relate to the Olympic athlete or somebody that you think, oh, I will never look at that. It's
We'll get
easy to have,
there.
right?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yeah.
being
John
being
Maxwell says that too. He says, I was listening to these speakers when he was first becoming a speaker. And he said, I sat there and they were talking about how great they were. And he goes, man, I'm going to really suck at this. So he got up there and he said, listen, I'm going to be real with you guys. Here's how I failed and here's what I've learned. And he said he had more response, and he learned because people were like, listen, that's where I am. That's where I am right
yes,
now. And I want to know I can get to where you are. And so it becomes very relatable. And I think that's key.
which I think for nurse leaders, this is super important, right? Because when people look up at you and they think, oh, wow, like look at you and look what you've done and everything comes easily and effortlessly to you and you know everything. So when you are able to ask a question or what do you think or an opinion and give somebody else and let them know you don't know You don't
Right.
know absolutely everything. The equivalent of that in my profession would be I there was a opening keynote, she was an Olympic athlete. And then I was the closing keynote, the last place triathlete. I mean, you can't get much more different than those two
Love that.
things, right? And
Right.
I'm listening to her opening going, "Oh my gosh, like how will I follow this? Like how will I
Yeah.
ever?"
Right.
But you know what? It was an amazing story and she was amazing and like that work ethic and oh my gosh. But again, how many people can relate to that and bring that into their own
Mhm.
life, right? Then
Yes.
people
That
are
day
like,
to
"Oh yeah,
day.
here's a nurse. She burnt out. She put her family on the back burner to try and be something for everybody else and then she clawed her way back, to try and have some semblance of balance in her work and home life and make better relationships and be happier and healthier and people can relate to that, right? It's not
Yes.
pretty, it's not perfect, it's not flawless, but it's real.
It is. And I think that's probably one of the things I thought, when we talk with Stephanie, I want to make sure that we highlight, talking about how do people have that resilience? How do they come back from that burnout? Because I think even though we're 4 years from COVID, everyone's tired of talking about burnout, but they're happy to talk about, how do I take care of myself? How do I have that healthy lifestyle? So again, I don't feel completely overwhelmed because especially I know our nurse managers, often directors, and yeah, even people in other positions, but they're especially in the middle and stuck from both sides. They've got the staff who need all these things. We've got them asking them to do all these things, right? And so they're especially, I think, our most vulnerable nursing leadership group. So share some of the different techniques or maybe thoughts that you have around how people create those boundaries and that work to come back like you did.
So thank you for asking that very important question. And it's so, I mean, we could talk for endlessly about this. This is
Yes.
my favorite subject in the whole world. So the first thing I want to say is like, if we as nurses and in healthcare, if we have not proven our resiliency at this point in time, I don't even know what to say. Like, if you do not believe you are a resilient human being, I don't even want to say this word anymore because we have proven it time and time again to the nth degree that we never ever could have imagined. And so the very first thing I think we need to do is recognize ourselves and value ourselves and appreciate ourselves and look in the mirror and go, holy crap. Like, I'm not perfect, but
Right.
people wouldn't do, and here's the thing in nursing, you think what you do is normal. I'm here to tell you it's not normal. Like
Mhm.
people wouldn't do what you do for any amount of money. And you're
Yes.
not doing it for the money, you're not doing it for the fame, you're not doing it for the glory, you're not doing it for the recognition. And because we're immersed in it, and everyone we know, like all our there, that just seems normal. It's not normal.
Right.
You need to look in the mirror
Right.
every day and go like, most of the world cannot do what I do, and
Mhm.
I'm doing it, and I'm
Yes.
and I'm rocking it. I'm doing it well. So give yourself some
Mhm.
credit.
Yeah.
Self-compassion is I often ask people when I'm speaking on that scale, that 0 to 10 scale,
Yeah.
where would you give fall on that 0 to 10 scale? So 10 would be like me and Dr. Kristen Neff wrote the book on self-compassion. And
Mhm.
0 would be, I didn't even know you could put the word self in front of compassion. Where are you on that scale? I usually get people
Right.
to hold up, fingers and like
Yes.
3, 4 is what I often see. I
Yeah.
think that is foundational.
It
We
is.
need to treat, and again, this is not going to be, oh my God, rocket science. But sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things.
Mhm.
When is the last time you said something to yourself that you would never say to one of
Exactly.
your colleagues?
Yeah.
Not that you would never say to somebody you don't even like.
Right.
You would never write it down. When is the last time you said to yourself something negative?
Yeah. So
And
true.
we're the ones we have to spend the rest of our lives with. And this is, I tell people if I only had 10 seconds, I would say like work harder on yourself than on anything else. It's my desktop screensaver. And that
Yes.
is what got me out of that mess I was in. I put that time, energy, money, resources, instead of trying to change other people, I put it into myself. Work harder on yourself than on anything else, and everything else will be better.
Yes. I love that. And, my girls and I have had that conversation. So I have three girls. And first of all of them went nursing. No, they're very compassionate people who love to help others and want to, be involved with people. But nursing, like you said, is not for everybody. And it's a calling, I think, that people truly have to have because there's so much required of you in it. So, first of all, 100% agree with that. And B, I've been working very closely with them, with others to say, if you wouldn't say that to somebody else to their face, you shouldn't be saying it to yours. And I think that's such a key because you're 100% right. How often do we look anything from, please, you really don't need this bag of popcorn because your jeans are already tight, girlfriend. There's a couple of people I might say that to, but I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's the same thing, no matter how big or small we're talking about. We don't even sometimes hear that inner monologue until you
Mhm.
go, oh, wait a minute, what did I just say to myself? That's not good. And there's so much coming out on neuroscience around this, about that conversation we have with ourselves and that narrative we create.
So let me ask you, have your daughters thrown it back to you yet? Some of that great advice you give them?
They do. They
Because
do. They're like,
mine
Mom,
sure have.
yes. Oh, they're good at that, aren't they? Let me
Aren't
tell you.
they?
Yeah, no, 100%. They're like, Mom, your hair's fine or whatever is fine.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Because
It's
I
it's
was
good.
typing a letter to my daughter and I wrote something about, oh, so I did the triathlon this summer. I came in last again. And my daughter sends me a note like, congratulations, I'm really proud of you. And I wrote back, it was something like it was brutal, but these chubby legs got over the finish line. And then I thought, oh, she would.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
went back and I deleted chubby. But these legs,
She
but
caught you on that. That's right.
these strong legs got over the finish line. And then I put a second note and I went, I had chubby legs, but I knew that you wouldn't like that, so I deleted.
I love
But,
it. That's
but
great.
isn't that great when they hand that back to us, right? Because
Yes.
something is sinking in, and so
Yes.
that could be to our kids, that could be to people that work under us, and the bar is high. Like
Yeah.
leaders, the bar is high. And I remember a nurse leader that brought me in. Her name was Helga. She was the director of the biggest hospital in the city I lived in. She really cared about her. She truly, genuinely wanted her staff to succeed.
Right.
She wanted them to do well. She wanted them to look after themselves. And that's why she brought me in, right?
Yeah.
Brought me in. And me and my big mouth, as I'm talking, I said to everybody, I said, Helga, like I couldn't help but notice like all the interactions we've had when planning for this special day came to me between midnight and 2 a.m. from you. And as soon as I said it, all her staff, they were like, oh, yes, like they always come at this time of night. See, so Helga was speaking. I care about you. I want you to look after yourself. I want you to have work-life balance. She meant it. She meant it. But what her staff saw was these emails coming in the middle of the night thing, and they're thinking, well, if she's working like that, I better work like that, and I don't want her to think that I'm not working like that.
Right.
So the message she was sending was they were not congruent.
Yes.
And
I
which
agree.
one was more sticky to the staff?
Right, right. Especially at that time. And, it's one thing for somebody to say, hey, yeah, I do catch up on emails on the weekend, but I don't expect you to. But midnight to 2 a.m., especially like, yeah, when do you sleep? Where is your self-care? How are you exhibiting and walking the walk and not just
Exactly.
talking the talk? I think that's really key. I like that.
I did recently put a little tagline on my email because I'm self-employed and because I can work. Oh, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to go for a
Yes.
kayak on a Wednesday afternoon, but I might work on Sunday night. So
Right.
it's different for me. But I did put a line and it says something to the effect of like my work hours do not necessarily reflect your work hours, and please don't feel pressured to answer this outside of normal business hours or something like that,
Yes.
which I've
Yes.
had lots of positive comments on. It's just a little reminder like, hey,
Yeah.
it we
We do
each have
have
to
things that
figure out
work.
our own way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And, because I'm one of those people who, and I tell my teams this all the time, I'm like, listen, about once a month, I come in and I work on a weekend. Usually it's either Saturday or Sunday afternoons. I'll spend 4 to 6 hours just thinking because nobody else is here. It helps me balance out, it helps me look ahead. What's coming? Can I get prepared for it? Helps me look behind. What haven't I done? Is there something I left off? And go through that email, clean it up a little bit, When I was in a hospital as a CNO, it was when I would go around and connect with people and, just be present. And it helped me be balanced, but it wasn't necessarily something I expected everyone else to do. But that was how it worked for me. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think people have to understand we all find different ways to balance.
Yes. And
And, yeah, go
can I
ahead.
ask you how you felt about that Saturday or Sunday?
I really looked forward to it, quite honestly, because it created that better balance for me
So
in
isn't
many
that
other days.
like a
Yeah,
couple of things in what you said that I think are really important?
yeah.
One is that you told your staff what you were doing,
Mhm.
right? So it wasn't like they would be talking around, why is she here on a weekend or da, 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 da. You told them and you set it up
Yeah.
and you went in with a happy heart, right?
Mhm.
You didn't go in like,
Yes.
oh, I have to go in this weekend. You went in with a happy heart, with a schedule, with a plan. You knew what you were doing. I'm going to imagine when you finished that day, you felt like accomplished and good and set up for like probably the rest of the month, right? Because you knew
Yeah.
that you had that time. So contrast that with like just showing up on a weekend,
Right.
feeling crappy. Everyone knows you don't want to be there,
Yeah.
you
I'm
know.
checking a box.
Yeah, so that's not cool, right? But letting
Right.
people know this is how you feel more balanced. If you didn't have that, you might feel more, so you probably would feel more stressed, more da 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 da. So I think it's beautiful
Right.
what you did, and
Yeah.
there's many different right ways to go
Exactly.
about this, right? To be an
Exactly.
awesome leader, to be an awesome parent, to be an awesome. There's not one right way, and I
Yes.
think we also need to stop apologizing.
Yeah.
If this is something that works for me and
Hmm.
it's right within my world, I
Yeah.
don't need to apologize for that, and neither do
Right.
you, right? I'm not telling you you have to do this, but I make your decision, make it with, a clear mind and make no apologies.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think, especially in this day and age, we've got to find those balances that work for us. When my kids were small, I had to leave by 5 p.m. and they were all usually in bed by 8 p.m., right? And then I would be again going, okay, well, what do I need to do? So for periods of times, it was I was going to school. And this is when I did my schoolwork, or maybe that's when I did some of the catch up things because I left earlier in the day to make sure I was there for my kids.
Mhm.
During different seasons, we have different things that we need. And I think it's so important to us as leaders to talk about those things and to work together with each other to say, hey, if I could come in late once a week and stay late, then I could do this thing, or I really want to go on that field trip, or, where are we at in our lives? And our needs are all going to be different. But if we can work together and be flexible in those ways, especially now, the big thing that 2020 brought on besides COVID was this ability to be flexible in our work locations and our
Mhm.
times and how we do our work. And so challenging, I think, some of those assumptions that we've had. So we've had a lot of nurse leaders that I've talked through the years are like, I love it when my CNO lets me work from home one day a week because I'm not getting the constant in the door traffic and I can catch up the email and type the minutes and do the planning and finish the schedule or whatever it is, but they're still working. So if we
Right.
trust people to produce and we trust them to grow and we trust them to do, how can we make that work so that we keep that healthy mindset? I think those are such important things for people to
They
think.
they may in fact be working better.
Yes,
But again, it comes
absolutely.
back to people can't read your mind. So
Yeah.
instead, like you said, of making that assumption, oh, they'll probably say no, oh, that probably won't work. I think resourcefulness is one of the key, like,
Yes.
right? Like I am resourceful, I am smart. I don't quite know how to make this work, but I'm confident we can figure out a way. And then when you
Yeah.
start putting a few bright minds together, it might not be the way you thought, but that impossibility, it becomes something like, I think we could actually pull this off. And maybe it doesn't have to be forever, but we can do a pilot, we can do a test, we can make a proposal. Say, what would you think about this? And
Yeah.
could we try it for 3 weeks and see what kind of
Yeah.
results come? And I don't know.
Absolutely.
Beautiful things have
Absolutely.
happened.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I think having that flexibility and asking those questions and challenging our assumptions just because this is the way we've always done it can really engage people who before were like, that's not something I'd ever do. I mean, you guys are here 24/7. I never want to be a leader. This is ridiculous. And now when they start seeing that flexibility, that the growth input, the teamwork, and the collaboration, and they see people happy in the role, then
Mm.
it's something they want to learn more about and do. So as we think about our succession planning, it's such a bigger picture than just who are we training to do these tasks or
Right. We don't
these.
want to scare people away from this. We want to
Yeah,
like, and you have this opportunity to be to be influential, right? To shape the path, to make decisions that are going to have impact for so long and so far and so deep.
yes,
We don't want to scare people away from that.
that's
It's a
right.
beautiful opportunity.
That's right. There was one thing that you did with us that I also want to bring up and make sure we talk about because I just really loved this exercise. A lot of times as leaders, and you touched on it even briefly a minute ago, we are doing so much for everybody else and we try so hard to help them improve, but they're not trying very hard. And you'll remember this when I bring it up, but you had us split up into two groups and then into four. Do you remember that?
I do.
So who's taking great? Yeah. Do you want to walk through that exercise? Because I think it's such a big deal as a mental exercise, even to think about, am I working harder for that person than they are? And where
Yeah.
which quadrant are they in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of map out how it looks if you just picture your typical conference and everybody's sitting at their table with all their colleagues or whoever else. And one of the things I think we learn better if we're having fun, right? So I try and shake things up and get people out of their seats and get people talking and make it as engaging as possible. And one of the ways I do it is I ask this question. I said, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to move to one side of the room or the other, depending on which statement you agree with. So as you said, you can just do this in your head right now. So if you currently, in your opinion, take extremely good care of yourself, you're going to go to the left side of the room. If you currently, in your opinion, do not take extremely good care of yourself, you're going to go to the right side of the room. Now, in a minute, and even if people are sitting on that side, I want people to stand up and physically go to one of the other walls. Now, before they move, I will just clarify a few things. This is very subjective. It's what you think about you. It's not what Sarah thinks about Karen. It's about what you think about you. And people hate this part, but there is no middle. And then people sometimes they boo, like, oh, I want a middle. I'm like, there's
Right,
no middle. You either do or you don't. And
right.
then so people very grumbly go to one side of the room or the other. And you can imagine in healthcare, well, you don't have to imagine because you saw it.
Yeah.
90% of the room is on the I don't take care of extremely good care of myself side. And so it's a very good visual for people to see, like, holy crap, here we are, people that are, building wellness for a living, and you're like, look at us, this is not a good sign. So then I further divide the group up, and whatever side you're on, if you are happy with the side you're on, come to the front of the room. And if you're not so happy with the side of the room, you go to the back of the room. So in your own head, you can imagine what corner you would be on. Then I run out and I talk about all the corners. So there's a corner of the room that takes extremely good care of themselves and are not happy about it. Nobody's in that corner. You can see there is no one that takes extremely good care of themselves and is not happy about it.
Right.
Then there's the corner of the room. It's a small corner, but people that take extremely good care of themselves and are thrilled and excited to be there. They're happy about it. We talk about it. They're not perfect. Their whole life's not always woohoo, but generally overall, they feel like they're on the right track. They're not retired. Some of them have kids, like they've all got all the same stuff as the rest of us have going on.
Right.
But there's still room for improvement because the awesome thing about being in that corner when you take extremely good care of yourself and you're happy about it is you get to see new opportunities, new challenges, a new road ahead of you that you couldn't see before. So
Yeah.
you have that confidence, you have those skills, you have that resourcefulness to just feel, oh my gosh, maybe I could be a nurse leader. Like, you can see more than you could see before. So that's awesome. Now we go to the other side of the room where people that do not take extremely good care of themselves. At the front of that part, people that it's hard to talk about this exercise, but anyway, I hope I'm
Yeah.
doing
No, you're
okay.
doing a great job.
So at the front of that corner is people that don't take extremely good care of themselves, but they're completely fine with it.
Yes.
So now people kind of laugh at this part, and there's usually a splattering of people there. And then as I
Yes.
explain it, a few more people come. So what this corner means is like, I get that I don't take extremely good care of myself. I know how I should do better, but I just don't want to right now. I just
Yeah.
can't, I don't have the capacity right now. I've got 3 kids. I'm getting my PhD. I don't have, I'm fine. Don't bug me. Just leave
It's
me.
as
You're
good as
lucky
it
you're getting
gets right now.
as good as I get right now. When I want to,
Yes.
I will ask those people over in the other corner what to do, but right now, leave me alone. And
Right.
so I think that is one of the most important corners to be in
It
because
is.
especially in healthcare, we
Yes.
are constantly trying to change other people.
Mhm.
We're like, oh, well, I have an idea. If you want to get off those diabetes medication, listen, we can't want a better life for people more than they want it for themselves. We can't want better health for people more than they want it for themselves. We can't want happiness for people more than they want it for themselves. And so my point there is like, leave people where they are. Unless they want to come with you, I will happily come on over. But if you're in that corner and you're just, that's it right now,
Yeah.
I support you. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, the back corner of the room is where if you were on a boat, we would sink because 9/10 of the people are in that corner of the room. That's the corner that says, I don't take extremely good care of myself, but if we were to do this again next year, I would like to be in the other corner. Yay, that's so empowering because the key here is awareness. Like, where am I now? Where do I want to be?
Mhm.
Right? I know I'm not taking extremely good care of myself. I want to do some things differently. I just don't know how to
Yes.
actually do it. I do not instead of my life because I've got this busy, full, demanding life, but within my life, what can I
Right.
do to get to that corner? And that's, I think, really, I hope you think that's where I would shine because instead of
Yeah.
just saying, this is what you should do, I want to tell people how to do it. Here's some
Yes.
small things that you can do to lean into that corner of the room. And so
Right.
people can really see this visual and all their colleagues, in the different corners. And this is where I want to be. And so, okay, we know where you want to be. Awareness is the key.
Right.
Accountability. What is my role in this? How do we get you there?
Yeah.
And then we start doing little things to lean into where we want to go.
And I think that was probably one of the more powerful exercises I saw as well, because so many of us are trying to drag people out of that back corner. And they're like, hey, I'm good right now.
Mhm.
This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. I'm not coming. I'm not going to be on the unit council. I'm not going to come and
Right.
be at the party. I can barely make sure my kids get to their birthday parties or whatever it
Yes.
may be. And to really understand that if I'm working harder to make that person's life better than they are, we're doing something wrong. And it's time to step back and say, is that where I want to spend my energy? Which is why so many people want to spend their energy on the people that are interested in changing or are already over here and ready to just explode and grow. So even the thought of changing that, I think, was such a strong visual for many of our leaders because they were like, okay, I need to go back and reconsider who I'm spending my time with and on
Mhm. Good.
so
Thank you.
that I'm not burning out trying to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped right now or who
No, and the
doesn't
thing
want
is,
to move. Yeah.
we like for me, I want to be that person that people say, like, whatever she's got going on, I want me some of that. Like,
Yes.
how does that happen? So let us live to that level that we want to inspire others to be. And
Right.
if they want to come, awesome. We're so happy to help them. And if they don't, then maybe we need to put our energy elsewhere. And it doesn't mean nothing bad about them. It's just maybe next year will be their time, or maybe not, or maybe they'll see this group just growing, and then finally, they say, I forget how many, but like many impressions of things, right? Like sometimes, people will read your book, Amy, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is the God's answer to nurse leadership. Like, oh my, like this is the Holy Grail. Or it might be, many people that might be their first impression. They go, oh, or it might be the 80th time they heard that message. And then they go, oh,
Right.
same with my speaking, right? Maybe they've heard this message, but they weren't in the right space to hear it.
Mhm.
But you just keep giving those impressions, and maybe someday it'll hit, and maybe it won't. But we need to
Yeah.
release that. We're just going to do the best we can. We're going to inspire the best we can. We're going to lead the best we can for us. And if people want to grow along with us, yay! And if they don't, that's okay.
Right.
That's not our responsibility, right? We're not going to tie a noose around their neck and drag them.
Right.
We
And
shouldn't.
that was as a leader probably about 10 years ago is when I finally, that message really clicked for me. of I'm
Right.
going to work with the willing.
Mm.
I can't
That's a
keep
great quote
chasing.
right there. I'm going to
Yeah.
work with the willing.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Because yeah, right. I know. And I tell people that all the time. I work with the willing. If you want to come and you want to grow and you want to learn, I will pour it into you. But if you aren't interested, if you're not willing, if you don't have the capacity, that's fine.
Mhm.
This is who I'm going to work with. And you have those people who show up and are super engaged at the beginning and then sort of fizzle out. That's fine. I check with them a few times. If they're fizzled out and they can't work, they're no longer willing.
Mhm.
And so I'm not going to spend more time there. So I'm going to move into the next person who's willing, right? And I just found that for me, it was that conservation of energy because I wanted to leave the legacies. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't pour into the people that had their door shut. you know? So,
That
yeah, such a
You
big
need to make a meme out of that one. I work with the willing. Amy.
that's
Dr.
right.
Amy. That is a great line. That is a great line.
Yeah, and I've heard it from other people. And like you said, the number of impressions before you finally go, okay, I got it. Those who are interested, those who want to grow, I'm happy. Yeah, I'll have coffee with you if you ask me. Yeah, I'll have lunch with you if you ask me. Yes. But, I'm not going to go chasing most people. You know what I mean? There's a few I've tried through the years, like, hey, I see real potential in you. Are you interested? Where do you
Yeah.
want to go? What's
Yeah.
happening? And then they engage. But to just chase people down, like you said, maybe they're in that back corner and that's not where they are right now. And you can't drag them out of it.
You know what? That's a great, even that part about asking for coffee and such, like what a great thing for leaders to do to recognize other leaders that are doing what they want to do. And I'm on a mission to like stamp out the whole pick your brain thing. I think pick your brain is
Yes.
like a really yucky, it sounds painful, but my
Right.
line is, I ask people if I can tap into their brilliance. Can I tap
Yes. I
into your
love that.
brilliance for a short amount of time? And when you do that, like even if you think about it, if there's somebody that's like kind of who you want to be or doing what you want to do or leading how you want to lead, like spending time with that person is so valuable.
Right.
So, offer to take them out for dinner.
Yeah.
Go pick them up at their house,
Yeah.
drive them to dinner, take them for a 3-course meal, 5-course meal, drive them home. You'll have 3 hours of their undivided attention and most likely respect, and you will
Mhm.
probably get more information than you would have gotten in a 6-month course on leadership, I'll bet you.
Right.
And probably you will have a mentor for a long time.
Yeah.
But invest in them too, right?
Yes.
Because, and also I think other people, as a new leader, um, sometimes we think we don't bring anything to the table, right? We don't know anything, or we're new, or maybe just a new nurse, or whatever, triathlons. We don't bring
Yeah.
any, but we bring a lifetime of experience in other areas. And
Mhm.
so, when you are asking somebody else for help or assistance, think about what you could offer them back
Right.
and make
Right.
an offer to them. Hey, here's some things that I'm really good at, and if I could help you with any of these things. And that way we don't always feel like we're kind of taking, but we're recognizing also ourselves that we have things to contribute. Yeah, you may be a new nurse leader, but you're not new at lots of other things.
Yeah, I've never had a mentee I didn't learn from. I
Ah,
never have. I've always, even if it was something, I had a lady who I coached one time who worked in ambulatory care. And I didn't know much about her ambulatory care setting. It was mostly post acute type stuff. And I said, I've got a lot of leadership skills I can help coach you with and help you learn. But I don't know much about your setting. You're going to have to teach me. So,
mhm.
I always have learned from people that I've coached or mentored because, like you said, they bring a value and wealth of experience in many ways that you go, oh, yeah, no, that's great. Hey, I'm going to take that one away. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think it's always valuable time. And it's always been, I've only had a few encounters in my 30 years in healthcare now that I didn't find valuable in some way.
Mhm.
And if nothing else, the value is that person got some attention for a little while. Maybe I didn't carry away some great gold nugget or something, but you know what? Hopefully there was a connection
Mhm.
and there was still that value that was done. But so it's never a waste, truly, right? So yeah, I love that.
Well,
I
I
love.
think we need to look into ourselves too, and I know it's your attitude, right? That allows you to think that it's never a waste. Some people might have that same experience and go, well, that was a waste of time. But because you have an attitude that is a higher level, right? You find some value in it, even if the value is, well, I probably aren't not going to do that again. That's still value
Right,
in that. That could be even
right.
more valuable. But
I have those feelings. Yeah.
to be searching for, okay, what was the good that happened? And to
Mhm.
circle back to kind of how we began, you talked about that attitude of gratitude and how, feeling
Mhm.
valued and appreciated and acknowledged. And one of my big COVID takeaways, the hub and I, we've been together for like 40 years in a row. And one of the things that we started doing during COVID, I said, so here's what we're gonna do, because I was getting so just sad by all the news and just everything weighing, right?
Yeah.
I said, at the end of every day, this is the last thing we're going to do before we close our eyes. We're going to ask 3 questions. What did you enjoy today? What are you grateful for? And what are you looking forward to? And the what are you looking forward to isn't like, next year when, no, it's something like in the next 28,
Yeah.
24 or 48 hours. And
Right.
that was the last thing we do before we go to sleep. And it
Love.
has been an absolute game changer, something so small, so simple, so quick, so free. But
Yeah.
to connect and imagine doing that with your team. Imagine
Right.
doing that. And that when you first start, people are like, something they don't know what to say, they don't know
Yeah.
what to do, that feels awkward. But the more you do it,
Mhm.
the easier it gets. And then you start hearing what other people are saying and you go,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that too. Oh, that reminds me of such and such. And if
Yes.
you're on your own, like just doing it in your own head, it's really
Mhm.
simple and powerful. So, so powerful.
Yeah, so true. I love starting out when we have big team meetings, like with some of our big groups that we have here. We start out going, let's shout out kudos. What are some
Mm,
kudos or some shout outs, things that either you want to celebrate or thank somebody in front of everyone for? And, sometimes it's really slow getting started because people are like, what do I shout out? Is that like, does this qualify or does this qualify?
yeah.
And then once that first person or two does it, 5 more people do it. And it just starts your meeting off on such a great note. But I think to your point, also at the end of the day, saying, hey, what did we accomplish that you're really happy about today? And, when I call my daughter, she's a stylist. I always ask her, what did you get to do this week? You
Uh,
know, what did you get the opportunity to do? Not, hey, how was work? Or,
yes.
it's what did you get to do? And she, oh, well, I did a highlight. I did this, because she's a newer stylist, has only been there a couple of years. So it's something that's a privilege for her to get to build this business, to get to build this clientele, to get these new experiences. And so, by purposefully using that language, I try to build that into all of the, what
Huge,
did you get to do today?
huge.
Because there's so many people who don't have that, right?
That's a great, great question. And in healthcare,
Yeah.
so my daughter's an occupational therapist, and it's again just like all of healthcare, very stressful and less resources and just da da da. So I started asking her, "Who did you help today?" And what win did you have today? Like just small wins, right? Instead of all the short and they want more and do more with less and everything else, because it's
Yeah.
easy to fall in that downward spiral. But then when she starts focusing on who she helped, oh, she saw this progress with this child, and you can hear it in their voice that they get excited about that. And so asking questions, it's called appreciative inquiry. Right. So we're leading people to ask something that's going to have them answer something positive, affirmative. And
Yeah.
in a world where how are you, fine, what's new, nothing, you know, it doesn't take much to people want to answer something affirmative. So give them an opportunity to.
Yeah. I love that. Well, as we wrap up, I know we're on our last few minutes. I have to ask, I see all the ducks behind you. So, some fun facts about yourself. Do you just enjoy collecting the ducks or do they represent something specific?
No, they totally represent something. So I was at a hotel in Germany called Move and Pick, and they had a duck on the tub. And I thought to myself, like, oh, like I've been to thousands of hotels. I've never seen a duck in the bathtub before. I'm like, for forever and a day, this hotel is going to be known to me as the hotel that kind of went above and beyond. And that led
Yes.
me to think, what do I want to be known for? And I
Yeah.
just thought that is a brilliant question. Like if I asked myself that question every day, like what could I be? What do I want to be known for? And then more importantly, a follow-up question is what do I have to do to grow into that? So I asked them for their duck, if I could have the duck. And I put it in my shower, and every day I see this duck, and I ask myself this question: what do I want to be known for? And what do I have to do to grow into that today? And so I often give these ducks away when I speak. And so I want this to be the cue to put it somewhere. And people have sent me pictures of ducks from all over the world, where they put their duck in their car or their wherever, to remind them of what we talked about that day, what they want to promise themselves, what they've committed to. So yeah, that's what the duck things are. Thanks for
Love
asking.
it.
That's what the
I
ducks
love
are
it.
for.
It's such a fun symbol too. But yeah, what fun that that hotel did that and gave you
It
that
was.
inspiration.
They have no idea how many people I've told about them to.
Right.
I should get a sponsorship.
That's right. That's right. Do I get an affiliate discount?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I love it. Well, one last fun question to follow up. Is there
Mm.
any podcast you're listening to or book that you've read recently that you would say, hey, I would love to shout this out to people?
Oh,
It is, yeah,
I am just finished reading You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you read that book?
I have not.
Oh, it's a thinker.
Ah,
Makes you think. Yeah, it's one of those ones I think I might have to
mm,
read it again. So that's currently what's on the night table today. And then I try and have one ebook on the go. So that's my ebook. And I have a hard copy book. And my hard copy book I just picked up from the library. It's called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. So I haven't started it yet, but I think it's going to be also a thinker. But
yeah,
I'm like a kindergarten artist, but
yes.
yeah, to helping you think differently.
No, I get that. I've been trying to do more on my creative side as well because I find it's an outlet or release
Mm.
that just engages you completely differently. And Brene Brown talks about that a lot. How our creativity gets squashed in school. Over time, if you aren't the artist, you then quit drawing,
Yes.
right? So
Or yeah,
yeah, or writing or
totally.
whatever it may be, right? So yeah, I love that. And hopefully we'll hear more about that one too. Well,
Well,
good.
I do a different challenge every month, and my challenge this month is face painting. So it
That's
has
fun.
been a whole different level of fun and creativity. And again, I'm at kindergarten level, but doesn't take much to impress a 3-year-old, you know?
There you go. That's right. Hey, Lolly can do that, right?
That's right. I sure can.
That's fun. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And we'll definitely in our show notes put information on how to reach out to you and find out more about having you come and speak. And as always, I love following you and seeing the posts that you put even on LinkedIn and the little tips and tidbits that you give out are always great. So thank you so much for your time
Thank you for
today.
what you do, Amy. You are making a
Absolutely.
positive difference in the nursing world and beyond. So keep going.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Amy.